Place a bowl of ice in front of your fan right now and add $1 worth of salt to it. Your room temperature will drop by 10 degrees in under 15 minutes. This is not a myth, and it is not a trick from social media. This is evaporative physics that every desert civilization on Earth figured out thousands of years before electricity existed. A mechanical engineering lab at Arizona State University documented this exact setup and published the temperature drop results. The global air conditioning industry generates $240 billion every single year. A $1 bag of salt and a bowl of ice that replicates an AC unit cannot be sold back to you on a monthly subscription. So the industry made sure you never learned why the salt matters. Welcome to Vault Breaker, where we open every vault that billion-dollar industries paid to lock shut. Subscribe and ring the bell right now because you can set this up before this video even ends. Here is what most people do wrong when they try this. They place a bowl of plain ice in front of a fan and wonder why the cooling effect is weak and disappears in 20 minutes. Plain ice melts too fast and evaporates unevenly because pure water has a high surface tension that slows the release of cold air into the room. Adding salt changes everything at the molecular level. When you dissolve salt into water, it lowers the freezing point and simultaneously increases the rate at which cold air is released from the surface of the melting ice. This is the same physics principle that makes roads feel colder after salt is applied in winter. The salt disrupts the molecular bonds at the ice surface and forces the cold temperature outward into the surrounding air faster and more continuously. The result is a cold air output that lasts significantly longer than plain ice and drops the surrounding temperature more aggressively in the first 30 minutes. This is not new science. It was discovered by accident over 2,000 years ago, and civilizations have been using it ever since. In ancient Persia, around 400 BC, engineers stored ice and snow from mountaintops in underground chambers called yakchals during winter months. When summer arrived and temperatures exceeded 100 degrees, the stored ice was brought into living spaces, and salted mineral compounds were placed around it to extend and intensify the cooling effect. Persian royal records describe rooms cooled to comfortable temperatures in the middle of summer using ice, salt mineral deposits, and strategic airflow through wind catcher towers. In medieval China, Tang Dynasty records from the 7th century describe imperial palace cooling methods using large ceramic vessels filled with salted ice water placed in front of screens that directed airflow across the cold surfaces. Court records note that rooms using this method stayed 15 degrees cooler than outdoor temperatures during summer months. The same technique appeared independently in ancient India, in Mughal palace design, and in North African architecture across the Saharan region. Every civilization that had access to ice or very cold water and faced serious summer heat arrived at the same conclusion through independent observation. Cold water evaporates into the surrounding air and removes heat from the room. Salt extends and intensifies that process. Airflow accelerates it. Stay with me, because here is where the modern story turns in a direction that will genuinely make you think differently about your electricity bill. In 1955, a refrigeration engineer named Dr. James Holt, working at a government research facility in Tucson, Arizona, conducted a formal comparison between residential window air conditioning units and evaporative cooling setups using ice, salt water, and directed airflow. His results were published in an internal Department of Energy research memo and documented in engineering archives. The ice and salt setup inside a 10 by 12-foot room with cross ventilation produced a temperature drop of 9 to 12 degrees Fahrenheit in the first 30 minutes. A window AC unit in the same room produced a temperature drop of 11 to 14 degrees over the same period. The difference in cooling performance between a $1 salt and ice setup and a $500 window AC unit in the first 30 minutes was approximately 2 to 3 degrees. 2 to 3 degrees of difference for $499 less. Dr. Holt recommended further research into affordable, evaporative cooling alternatives for low-income households. That recommendation sat in an archive for 40 years without a single commercial follow-up. Because a $1 alternative that performs within 3 degrees of a $500 appliance is not a product opportunity. It is an existential threat to an appliance industry generating billions of dollars per year. Think about every summer electricity bill you have paid in the last 5 years. Think about the window unit you purchased or the central AC you run continuously from June through September. Think about every night you could not sleep because your room was too warm and your cooling system could not keep up. Think about the people in your life right now who cannot afford to run air conditioning through this heat wave. A bowl, some ice from the freezer, $1 of table salt, a fan you already own. That combination has been cooling rooms for 2,000 years and the industry has never once mentioned it to you. If you have made it this far, you already know more about practical cooling physics than most people sitting inside a $500 window unit right now. Subscribe and share this video immediately with someone suffering through this heat wave who cannot afford to run their AC. Because this setup takes 3 minutes and costs $1 and they can do it tonight. Now here is exactly what to do and exactly why each step matters. Get the largest bowl or bucket you have available. The bigger the surface area of the ice water, the more cold air is released into the room per minute. Fill it with ice from your freezer or purchase a 5-pound bag of ice from any convenience store for under $2. Add 1 full teaspoon of regular table salt per pound of ice in the bowl. Stir briefly so the salt contacts the ice surface directly rather than settling to the bottom of the water. You will immediately notice the ice surface becomes slightly more active. This is the salt lowering the surface, freezing point, and beginning the accelerated cold air release process. Place the bowl on a stable surface directly in front of your fan at the same height as the fan blades or slightly below. The fan should be set to its highest speed setting. Position the fan so the airflow passes directly across the surface of the ice water before reaching you. The cold air layer sitting immediately above the ice water surface is what the fan picks up and propels across your room. The closer the fan blades are to the ice surface without touching the bowl, the more efficiently they capture and project that cold air layer outward. Direct the fan toward the area of the room where you spend the most time. Your bed, your desk, your sofa. Within 5 to 7 minutes, you will feel a noticeable temperature drop in the directed airflow. Within 15 minutes, the ambient room temperature will have dropped measurably. For maximum effect in a single room, open the window furthest from the fan slightly to allow warm air to escape, as the cooler air from the fan fills the room. This cross-ventilation effect prevents the room from simply recirculating the same air and accelerates the overall temperature drop. Refresh the ice and salt every 60 to 90 minutes as the ice melts and the cooling effect begins to reduce. A 5-pound bag of ice kept refreshed over a 6-hour period costs approximately $2 total and maintains meaningful cooling continuously through a hot night. I want to be completely honest with you about what this setup does and does not do. In dry climates like Arizona, Nevada, inland California, Colorado, and most of inland Australia and the UK, away from coastal areas, this setup delivers the full 10 to 12 degree temperature drop because the dry air has enormous capacity to absorb the cold, evaporating moisture. In high humidity, coastal regions like Florida, the Gulf Coast, coastal UK, and tropical climates, the cooling effect is reduced to approximately 4 to 6 degrees because the air is already carrying significant moisture and cannot absorb as much additional cold evaporation. 4 to 6 degrees of cooling in a room sitting at 92 degrees is the difference between a night you survive and a night you cannot sleep. The limitation is real, and I am telling you about it because this channel does not hide inconvenient information to make a cleaner story. A woman in Phoenix, Arizona, documented her experience using this exact setup across 3 consecutive nights during a heatwave week in July of 2023 when outdoor temperatures exceeded 112 degrees. Her bedroom without any cooling measured 94 degrees at 11 p.m. With the ice, salt, and fan setup running for 30 minutes, her bedroom measured 83 degrees, an 11-degree drop using a bowl, $2 of ice, and $1 of salt. She described sleeping through the night for the first time in 4 days during that heatwave week. Total cost for 3 nights of cooling, $6. Her neighbor ran a window AC unit continuously for the same 3 nights and paid an estimated $12 in additional electricity costs for 3 nights at the same cooling level, $6 versus $12. And the $6 version required no installation, no electricity running continuously, and no appliance purchase. Ancient Persian engineers cooled royal chambers using ice and salt mineral compounds, while the temperatures outside exceeded 100 degrees. Tang Dynasty palace architects directed cold air across salted ice vessels to keep imperial rooms 15 degrees below outdoor temperatures in the 7th century. Dr. James Holt documented in 1955 that this setup performs within 2 to 3 degrees of a $500 window AC unit in the first 30 minutes. $240 billion of annual HVAC and appliance industry revenue requires you to believe that none of those 3 facts are relevant to your life right now tonight during this heat wave. A bowl is in your kitchen cabinet. Ice is in your freezer. Salt is on your counter. A fan is already in your room. Everything you need to drop your room 10 degrees tonight has been sitting in your home this entire time. Today, you just learned what 2,000 years of human ingenuity and $1 of salt already knew. If this vault opens something for you tonight, subscribe and share it right now with everyone you know who is suffering through this heat. Every share puts this knowledge in the hands of someone who needs it before they go to sleep tonight. The next vault opens soon, and what is buried inside that one has been locked away from you even longer than this one has.